On September 30, 2015, the doors of Cash's flagship store in St. Louis swung shut for the last time, marking the end of a once thriving empire of women's fashion that had, just a decade earlier, been a staple of mall corridors across the United States. The sudden silence that fell over the fitting rooms that day was more than a business closing. It was the echo of a cultural shift that left a once popular brand without customers, without cash, and ultimately without a future. Cash began its story in 1975 when a modest boutique opened on a quiet corner of a Texas shopping center, offering affordable, on-trend clothing for teenage girls and young women. The name, a playful nod to cachet, a promised style with a hint of exclusivity, yet the price tags remained accessible. By the early 1990s, the brand had caught the eye of a private equity firm hungry for fast fashion opportunities, and a wave of aggressive expansion followed. New stores blossomed in regional malls, the brand's pink logo became a familiar sight on storefronts, and the product mix evolved to include everything from denim and casual tops to evening dresses and accessories. At its peak, Cash operated more than 500 locations nationwide, employing thousands and generating annual revenues north of $300 million. The rapid growth, however, sowed the seeds of trouble. As the chain multiplied, its supply chain became increasingly complex, relying on a web of overseas manufacturers to churn out new styles every 2 weeks. The pressure to keep shelves stocked with the latest trends meant that inventory turnover was razor thin, and any miscalculation could leave warehouses brimming with unsold garments. Early warning signs appeared in the mid-2000s, when analysts noted a subtle but persistent decline in same-store sales. While competitors such as Forever 21 and H&M leveraged massive advertising budgets and a relentless social media presence, Cash remained relatively low-key, trusting its loyal customer base to sustain traffic. Financial statements from 2008 to 2012 reveal a pattern of mounting debt. The company's leverage ratio climbed from 2:1 to 3:4, and the cost of borrowing rose as lenders grew wary of the brand's shrinking margins. At the same time, the retail landscape was undergoing a seismic transformation. The rise of e-commerce platforms, especially fast fashion giants that could ship fresh collections directly to consumers' doors within days, began to erode foot traffic in malls, the very lifeblood of Cash's brick-and-mortar model. Yet the chain was slow to develop a robust online presence, and when it finally launched a modest website in 2011, it struggled with inventory synchronization, website glitches, and a lack of mobile optimization. The warning signs intensified in 2013 when Cash announced a strategic initiative to revitalize its brand image. The plan included a redesign of store layouts, a new logo, and a partnership with a celebrity influencer to attract younger shoppers. Internally, the company cut back on staffing and reduced marketing spend, hoping to preserve cash. Yet the changes were superficial. The core issues, overextended real estate commitments, outdated inventory management systems, and a failure to adapt to digital shopping habits, remained unaddressed. Industry insiders whispered that the brand's leadership was more focused on short-term cost saving than on a genuine transformation. By early 2014, the cracks became visible to the public. News outlets reported that several Cash locations were closing their doors ahead of schedule, and customers complained of dwindling stock and frequent out-of-stock notices online. Meanwhile, the company's creditors tightened terms, demanding immediate repayment on revolving credit lines. In April of that year, the board approved a $50 million loan to keep the business afloat, but the infusion was a band-aid rather than a cure. Suppliers began to demand cash on delivery terms, and the once reliable supply chain faltered, leading to delayed shipments and empty racks. The final blow came in August 2015, when a group of senior executives convened an emergency meeting after the company missed a critical debt covenant. The decision was made to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing insurmountable liquidity constraints and a rapidly deteriorating retail environment. The filing listed over $200 million in assets against $250 million in liabilities, and it triggered a cascade of store closures across the country. Employees received terse emails notifying them of layoffs, while shoppers were greeted by closed signs in windows that had once displayed glittering mannequins in the latest trends. The aftermath was a cautionary tale for the retail sector. Former employees described a chaotic winding-down process, with inventory pallets left untouched in backrooms and unsold merchandise destined for liquidation sales. Lease agreements for prime mall locations were terminated, leaving landlords scrambling to fill the void. Creditors recovered only a fraction of their exposure, and the private equity firm that had once championed Cash's expansion faced criticism for over-leveraging the chain. Analysts pointed to Cash as a textbook example of how rapid growth without sustainable operational foundations can lead to an abrupt collapse. In the years since the bankruptcy, the retail landscape has continued to evolve. Many of Cash's former stores have been repurposed by fast fashion competitors or converted into experiential venues that blend shopping with entertainment. The brand story lives on in the memories of a generation that once spent Saturday afternoons browsing its aisles, searching for the perfect pair of jeans or a flirty dress for a night out. For former employees, the experience serves as a stark reminder of the volatility of the fashion industry and the importance of agility in a digital age. Subscribe to The Collapse for more stories like this.